The saddest part of the State of the Union, very few people have pointed this out, was this moment where Joe Biden was trying desperately to name, he didn't have any accomplishments that he could name, so he just kept talking about things in the future. Right? He would say, instead of talking about the State of the Union right now and as a result of the last year of his leadership, you just say, in the future, we're going to do this, and next year we'll cure cancer, and 5 years from now, we're going to have a gumdrop Candy Mountain. It's going to be really great. At one point, though, the Democrats started chanting, USA, USA. So that was coming from the Democrats, USA, USA, USA. And when I heard it, it struck me as so foreign and artificial. I said, why? Why is this so strange to me? It's because I've never heard Democrats ever chant USA, USA. Neither have you. Even for our liberal listeners out there, our Democrat listeners out there, I think if you're being really honest with yourself, you can admit Democrats don't do that. That's a Republican thing to do. Right? Because what Democrats do is they protest the American flag. They teach in schools that America is a racist, bigoted, terrible country that's always been awful to black people and minorities and Indians and women and everyone who's not a straight white man with blonde hair and blue eyes. America's just really been awful. They spread evil all around the world. We're just the worst country ever, and we've got nothing to be proud of. That's what the Democrats teach, okay? But what I think happened is the Democrats got their pollsters out there, and they know that this is a midterm election year, and they realized that hating America doesn't play very well in Peoria. And so they said, okay, we've got to change this. Hey, Democrats. And all the members of Congress have a script for these things. So they've got the little script, okay, applaud here, stand up here, chant, and I guess one of them was chant USA, USA. Just do an impersonation of a Republican. Do an impersonation of a conservative during the Trump administration, standing up USA, USA. You could see on the dais up there behind Joe Biden, you have Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris, and they're there for the USA, USA, and they don't know what to do. They're not chanting, they're kind of clapping in the rhythm. I've never heard this before. USA, US. It reminded me during COVID. You remember Andrew Cuomo, before he fell from grace. Andrew Cuomo was caught on camera and he said, Donald Trump says, make America great again. America was never that great. America was never that great. That's what he said. A damning line. I think he was speaking for a lot of Democrats. Don't forget, Andrew Cuomo is considered a moderate Democrat, so it wasn't even some fringe line, but they just believe America was never that great. And then that got him into a little bit of trouble. And then he goes to the Democrat National Convention and he gives one of the speeches and he says, we're America strong. We're America. America always does great stuff. And you think, buddy, you don't really believe that. It rings hollow, and it rang hollow last night. The creepiest moment, I thought, of the whole State of the Union was at the very end when Joe Biden started to ratchet up the radicalism a little bit, and he started pushing his radical abortion law to codify Roe versus Wade, which very possibly could be overturned in the new Supreme Court session. He wanted to codify that into law. So even if the court gets rid of the fake constitutional right to abortion, it'll still be a national law, and every state in the country is going to have to kill babies, and no state, no people has the right to say, no, we don't want to kill babies in Texas or Tennessee. So Joe Biden was talking about that. He came up with a new euphemism for abortion.
Advancing liberty and justice also requires protecting the rights of women. The constitutional right affirmed by Roe v. Wade, standing precedent for half a century, is under attack as never before. If you want to go forward, not backwards, we must protect access to health care, preserve a woman's right to choose, and continue to advance maternal health care for all Americans.
Maternal health care. We've heard a lot of euphemisms for abortion over the years. We've heard reproductive rights. Ironic, because abortion stops reproduction and it's not right. We've heard women's health care, which is very, very vague, right? I call my grandmother. I say, hey, Grandma, how you doing? She doesn't say, well, Michael, my hip hurts and my friend died and the car broke down. But hey, at least I have my right to abortion, right? That's not what all women mean by health, quite the opposite. But this was the first time I'd ever heard this one, and it's the most ghoulish one of all. Maternal health care. Today is Ash Wednesday. Over 1 billion people will start living different in some way. Maybe that means giving up chocolate or alcohol or whatever. For a lot of people, Lent is a time of finding the easiest way to give something up. But at the end of those 40 days, did that sacrifice really make a difference? This year, there is a new opportunity out there, especially for men, that will actually help you grow closer to God and become a better man. You may have heard me talk about Exodus 90. Let me tell you about Exodus Lent, a 40-day journey that will challenge you to dig a little deeper this year. Here's how it works. First, over the 40 days of Lent, men commit to daily prayer, setting aside a minimum of 20 minutes to spend with the Lord each day. It includes scripture reading, reflection written to help men better understand, grow in, and live virtue. Second, more than just giving up chocolate, men take up a range of disciplines and sacrifices for the season of Lent. Sweets, snacks, social media, all gone. Third, men commit to a fraternity of 5 to 7 men. Each week, the fraternity meets to pray together, check in, hold each other accountable, and encourage one another. On Easter Sunday, you walk away with a new and lasting understanding of what it means to live a Christian life. Chocolate bunnies and all. Sign up now. It's not too late. Sign up now. Exodus90.com/Michael. See, the Democrats use these euphemisms for abortion because they don't want to admit that abortion it necessarily involves killing a baby. So they won't even acknowledge that the baby's real most of the time. They'll say, no, it's just women's health. Oh, it's just a minor medical procedure. It's reproductive rights. Right, they'll equate it with contraception. The idea that you're going to stop it before it even becomes a baby. But maternal health care is acknowledging that the woman getting an abortion is already a mother. Maternal health care is acknowledging that the baby really is a baby in the fullest sense of the word. You're calling the woman getting an abortion mommy, and mommy is going to snuff out her little baby if Joe Biden has his way. And mommies aren't even going to have the right to get together and pass laws in their states to outlaw killing babies if Joe Biden gets his way. That is some spooky stuff from allegedly the moderate Democrat, from allegedly the Catholic Joe Biden. I'm personally pro-life, but politically I'm pro-choice. He used to do that. You remember that? That was a little song and dance that Democrats came up with decades ago to get themselves out of that tight spot on abortion, especially Catholic Democrats. Mario Cuomo did it in New York. But now they've totally gotten rid of that. And Joe Biden doesn't believe a damn thing that he pretends to believe in. All he cares about is saying the things that are popular in his party and maintaining power. So now he says, yeah, it's maternal health care. Yeah, it's a baby. Yeah, you pro-lifers, you were right. It's a baby. And we're coming for him. Spooky, spooky stuff. And then the silliest line of the night was when Joe Biden said that what Democrats support is not defunding the police, not abolishing the police. Actually, Democrats want to fund the police.
Proven strategies like community violence interruption, trusted messengers, breaking the cycle of violence and trauma, and giving young people some hope. We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police. Fund them. Fund them.
Yeah, fund the police. That's what we support. We're Democrats. We support funding the police. Even though we just spent 2 years not only threatening to defund the police, not only having AOC say abolish the police means abolish the police. It doesn't mean move money around. It means you're actually going to get rid of the police. Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, not just them, but DAs, Democrat governors, mayors all around the country actually defunding the police. That's why we have an historic crime surge right now. You've got murders in particular, violent crime way, way up over the last 2 years because of actual Democrat policies that were already implemented. And then Joe Biden gaslights everyone and says, we support funding the police. No, you don't. No, you don't. Prove it, Buster. Well, no, and then all the Democrats, they stand up there and they applaud. They haven't changed one iota of their policy. They haven't pushed for a tough on crime bill in the Congress, those people who were in that room just there. I haven't seen a Democrat tough on crime bill anywhere in the country. So it's just a lie. They realize that voters around the country don't like it, that now the gangbangers are shooting bullets through their windows, and that they know that Democrats are directly responsible for this. And so they say, okay, guys, hey, let's get us through November. We support funding the police, don't we? No, you don't. It's just total BS. And then that's all I'm going to play of the State of the Union. I can't bear it. I sat through it once. I don't need to sit through it again. All right. I did my duty to you people, because I know that you didn't watch it. So I sat there. I took the slings and arrows. It was a good way to get ready for this penitential season. I sat there and I did it, but I'm not watching it again. The first 10 to 20 minutes of it, though, were not a State of the Union address. The first 10 to 20 minutes were a State of the Putin address. Did he even mention America during the first 20 minutes? I don't think so. I was waiting for him. I said, it's the state of the NATO, state of the European Union. All he was talking about was Ukraine. And he didn't offer anything productive on Ukraine. He didn't say, here's how we're going to end this war. Here's how we're not going to escalate and avoid World War III. Here's what we should have done differently, because very specific Biden policies led to this moment in Ukraine, as I covered on the show some days ago. No, he didn't talk about any of that. He just talked vaguely about this war in Ukraine. And because the war in Ukraine is the best thing to happen to the Biden administration. I'm damning with faint praise. He's failed on every single front. But it's the best thing that happened. Previously, the best thing that happened to Biden was COVID, because he could blame all of his problems on COVID. But then a lot of his predictions about COVID didn't come true. A lot of his prescriptions turned out to not work at all. And so COVID's no longer a positive for him, even in the polls. The best thing he can do now is say, I'm a wartime president. I'm going to avoid World War III. I'm going to stave it off through my genius statesmanship and diplomacy. And basically what he was using, the reason he talked about Ukraine at the top of the speech was he knew that people were going to tune out eventually, and he wanted to avoid talking about what he was actually doing at home because it was such a failure. So he just basically gave a news report on what was happening in Ukraine. But the situation is growing worse there day by day, and Biden is doing absolutely nothing to stave off what could be potentially a much larger, potentially nuclear war. Did you like that clip? I'm so glad. You know, we're entering into a penitential season right now, and one thing that I would recommend giving up for Lent would be all the other podcasts other than mine. You should continue to listen to my podcast, but you could give up all of the other ones, and then you'll have time to listen to more of my episodes, which you can get at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. Type in The Michael Knowles Show, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, obviously ring the bell here. We'll see you next time.